Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the WCW Worldwide Review Series for the um, 23rd of April, 2000, sure, 1994. If only 2004 still had WCW in it, we'd actually have maybe decent wrestling. Who knows? Although WCW wasn't run well, so probably not. Anyway, the Worldwide Series continues. We've got about 60, 65 of these available. Probably going to stop around 75 or so because that's what's available online at the current moment. But that doesn't mean it won't change over time. Who knows what they add in the weeks and months to come. In any event, the 23rd of this particular month is a unique time. We've got kind of clash of styles with the run of WCW original talent and the infusion of Hulk Hogan's soon-to-be friends. Hogan comes in within a couple of months here, so it's an interesting time in that the company as a whole is changing. Johnny B. Bad is out first, and Johnny B. Bad certainly has been, over the last 2 or 3 years, a major force in the WCW run here. Actually, the beginning of spring and early summer of 1994, the last time of WCW that I truly enjoyed, because once Hogan and friends came in, I think wrestling changed. Um, I consider 97, outside of ECW, to be the last truly good year of professional wrestling. And that's not to say I don't find things to enjoy in the current product, but it's harder than ever before. Go around and basic stuff by Johnny B. Bad, side headlock takeover. He stays on his opponent pretty aggressively there, and ultimately hard shots along the way. Um, there's what's there, and we continue to see shots of basic stuff. Of course, Bad has been a babyface for a while here. Side does a sidewalk slam, aka side suplex, there by his opponent, and it's pretty clear that the opponent is trying to stay on Bad. Bad, of course, has been at this point, I believe, a former television champion by 1994 early, and he eventually hits the Kiss the Don't Miss and a crucifix bomb, which is awkward looking because of the way it lands. Referee actually has to move into position to see a way to get the victory for Bad, which is obviously where they're going. Colonel Robert Parker once again saying he wants to purchase the benefit of things for including the World Championship for himself. Also talking about Monkhouse Buck facing off against Flying Brian Pillman later in the day. Of course, Colonel Robert Parker causing issues between Steve Austin and Pillman in the future. Dustin Rhodes runs Parker off in the middle of his interview, saying that, in fact, he wants to challenge Bunkhouse Buck to a bull rope match at the next pay-per-view, which I believe is Slamboree. Jesse Ventura still here in 1994, which I thought he left in 93, so that's interesting. But again, when you watch something 20 plus years ago, your memory is going to be a little hazy upon occasion. Dave and Kevin Sullivan, Evad and Kevin Sullivan, the Sullivan brothers, are acknowledging each other as baby faces. Kevin Sullivan as a babyface just strikes me as odd. Dave/Evad Sullivan, a.k.a. the Equalizer from earlier points, not exactly the best of situations, but brawling with the Nasty Boys does seem to be something they're going to do. Evad Sullivan with the hip tosses and basic stuff there. Not exactly something to write home about, and Kevin Sullivan comes in, does more of the brawling. Of course, Sullivan's been around since the 70s, so here, 20 years in, he's not going to do anything that's going to light him up too much, but punches, kicks, chops, and such by Sullivan. Tree of Woe running into the corner by Sullivan, tagging off to his brother Kevin. Kevin runs in with that maneuver and manages to get a hard shot there and, has him upside down. Basic stuff here and Irish whip and hard clothesline along the way, and ultimately manages to roll things up, and Kevin Sullivan gets the double stomp to the midsection, getting a victory here. We go to the Slamboree Control Center. Rick Rude says he wants Vader, he wants Sting, he wants whoever's the international champion, he wants Goldback. Root, of course, having been a major force in the area for the last 3 years or so, and just months away, I think, from his career-ending injury, which I think happened in the summer in Japan, maybe June or July. But unfortunate for him, because who knows what Rick Rude would have done if he'd continued in the WCW or WWF as a wrestler through the Attitude Era just a couple of years later. Has to be hard for him to deal with the realities of that. Thunder and Lightning tag team is up next in an enhancement match, and they're nothing to write home about by any stretch of the imagination. Basically, old cartoon babyface tag team didn't really do much outside of maybe a 6 month to year run in WCW as a whole as it was. You know, double team, double chops from the top rope, and basic stuff here. Fireman's carry by, I believe it's Lightning, taking over his adversary there and dropping the shot across the arm, and basic stuff here. Back elbow, uh, and ultimately, sidewalk slam backbreaker by his adversary there. And again, you get where you get. Thunder and Lightning get a double team victory, and then we see an interview with the Nasty Boys. Nasty Boys still claiming they're not that impressed with the Sullivan brothers, Dave and Kevin. Basically saying they're going to go into a brawling situation and they're going to win. Vader up next with a enhancement challenge match here. Of course, challenging Hulk Hogan for I guess the remainder of late '94, early '95, going forward. Choke slam, among other things, on the enhancement talent, and he gets bounced around pretty hard. Double forearm shots. Harley Race still the manager of Vader, even during this awkward part in his career. I think by the time we'd entered 1994, maybe at least the summer of '94, Vader losing momentum, certainly where he was in '91 through '93, and in that 2 year run, I think Vader was unstoppable. Powerbomb by Vader, and he is obviously able to get a victory. He's actually standing on the chest of his opponent here. Then we go to another interview segment, this time with Lord Steven Regal, basically saying 5-minute rounds in Marcus of Queensberry rule. The Marcus of Queensberry Cup hit a international thing. I don't know if it was an actual thing, although there is a cup being held by Sir William, aka Bill Dundee, as the manager of Regal. Flair says he will be part of the match. 5-minute rounds, no punching, no kicking, just basic wrestling. Match is good and takes place on Worldwide the following week, I do believe. And ultimately, Flair is a babyface here. We see Dick Slater and Bunkhouse Buck, although Bunkhouse Buck is managing to go after Brian Pillman, which is the promised match from earlier in the broadcast. Buck jumps Brian in the early part of the match, kicking and biting and punching at him, doing everything he can to get an advantage. Brian eventually does get a comeback, including a leaping dropkick and back to the work on the arm. Basic stuff, not a match worth writing home about. Brian Pillman at this point, about to go back heel within the next couple of months, I do believe. But he tried the babyface run after his run with Steve Austin. Doesn't go exactly the way he wants it to go. They brawl on the outside of the ring, do Buck and Brian. Buck is sending Brian into the steel post shoulder first and works him over. Of course, the interlacing with the feud with Dustin Rhodes also factors in here. Colonel Robert Parker, a.k.a. Robert Fuller, a pretty major guy at the time. Bunkhouse Buck manages to pull some hair. Attempted distractions and use of cheating by Parker on the outside continues as well. Needless to say, nobody's really that impressed with the match quality here. This is more about story than it is about match quality. You're not going to get any Dave Meltzer 5-star classics out of this. Pillman sends his opponent into the buckle quite a few times there. Ultimately, Pillman manages a couple of punches, and ultimately we see it go around, and Pillman manages to get cut off. Um, Parker manages to get some kicks in and jumping his opponent out, jumping Pillman post match. Pillman obviously does get the victory, but doesn't get the, I guess, benefit of the victory completely anyway. Bobby Heenan is still a major force in broadcasting, and he's closing the show out with Gene Okerlund. Heenan and Okerlund, a pretty big deal, and Dusty Rhodes talking about the upcoming Slamboree deal. As we close the program, we'll be back with more, including the NXT in Your House review after this.